Hello! Okay, so here's what you do. You make, don't spill it, you make cacao coffee with raw cacao nibs, raw. The way you can tell they're raw is, for instance, mine have dirt in them, so they're definitely raw. I have to wash my cacao nibs. I have a feeling they take them out of the bloody jungle, put them on a conveyor belt and crush them and put them in the packet because I have to wash mine. So get your raw washed cacao nibs and put almost boiling water with it, 80-degree water. You don't need to put 100-degree with it. Now this will also make everything more available. What do we do with our seeds and nuts again? We soak them, usually overnight, but hey, warmer water speeds it up. And I do leave this here until it starts to cool right down again. As you can see, it's hot, so I've got this around it. So what do we do that for? Because it unbinds the minerals and the vitamins in the nuts and seeds, and this is a bean, or I think it's a nut, the cacao nut, raw cacao, what all chocolate's made out of, not cocoa, which is after it's been heated and pasteurized and homogenized. So phytic acid is bound to all the minerals in there, and that's why we soak nuts, to activate them so that we can absorb. Again, that absorbability thing is such a large health nuance. I find it through so many things. Yeah, you might be eating something, but is it absorbing? Are you even getting it into your cells and into your body, or is it just going straight through? So a way to get this to absorb is by soaking. The phytic acid unbinds. Now, why this instead of coffee beans? Because it's not acidic. It contains a lot of magnesium and iron, and I'm not sure how much calcium cacao contains, but the other two aforementioned are alkaline minerals. Now, coffee's highly acidic. Coffee's so acidic you need to drink like 8 pH 9 glasses of water after it just to balance 1 glass of coffee. This is not like that. This is naturally not only healing and warm, but it's naturally alkaline. So this is cacao coffee, just cacao nibs or whole beans, but you'd probably crush them, again for absorbability. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, so if you want to sweeten this, oh yeah, and so there's no caffeine. It has way, way, way lower caffeine. There's a little bit of caffeine in cacao beans, just a little bit to pep you up a little bit, but not to make you go crazy. I've also talked about cingulate gyrus problems coming from coffee. I have absolutely no real evidence to back this up other than a vision that came to me on the visionary stage, and that it has to do with vibratory state. I haven't yet found any molecular pathways, but I haven't looked into it yet, so I will. Because that's how it always comes. The phase state change comes through vision first. Just like Mendeleev creating in 3 consecutive daydreams the entire periodic table, vision comes first through individual, then group decisions come later. So now I have to go check with the group. What's the cingulate gyrus more about? What are the pathways, molecularly speaking, etc. Anyway, so that's why I don't like coffee as well. And coffee is just as addictive as cannabis. I used to smoke cannabis, which was just as easy to get off as it was with the coffee. And that's through will force. But in another sense, it was hard to get off coffee after I drank it for a week straight to test this. I think it was 2 weeks. Before that, I only roughly would have coffee maybe once a month at a friend's house with a low glycemic sugar like cane sugar or coconut sugar, the best sugar. Coconut sugar is the best. It's the least environmentally impacting sugar. That being said, how else might you sweeten this? A little bit of bee pollen. So those who don't know about this, it's really good in the B vitamins, I think B3 and B9 specifically, and it's a little bit sweet. So you just drop in a little bit like that. That's enough. You can put a little bit more in or less, whatever. And so that's just bee pollen, and that's what the bees carry around under their legs from the flowers that they're pollinating all of our food. And that will just sweeten the deal a bit. Make sure you put that in while it's hot. And there you go. I have a raw cacao, raw bee pollen coffee. Bon appetit. Oh, and here's the raw cacao that I was using. I forgot to show. It's by CRS Organic. Now, to finish off this film segment on raw cacao coffeeing instead of coffee coffeeing, why? Well, because apart from what I've already mentioned, let's elaborate on it. Normal coffee from the coffee bean instead of the raw cacao coffee, which I'm putting forth as your new coffee, cacao is alkaline and the coffee is acidic. We've talked about that, and I'll quickly elaborate on that before we go into other aspects of this. Cancer needs an acidic environment in your body or anywhere in a petri dish, in vitro, or in your body. Cancer in general needs an acidic environment to proliferate and to be able to spread. So when you have an alkaline environment in your body, it's anti-cancerous. It stops cancer from spreading a bit. Okay, it's very helpful in mitigating cancer, or slowing and stopping and stemming cancer and preventing cancer. So that's a major reason, yeah? Since like half of everyone in the world is coming down with cancer or something stupid. It's because of things like this. You're all on coffee, you're all having meat acidity diets and root vegetables. What's acidic? Nuts, roots, tubers, potato, seeds, and muscle or meat. They're acidic, they break down acidic in the body. Things that are alkaline are like fruit and green leafy vegetables. And cacao, funnily enough, cacao. It's another like nut, bean, fruit thing that is alkaline, and the coffee, that nut, bean, fruit thing is acidic. So cancer is obviously a major point. You can't argue that. Now another thing with the acidity problem of coffee and not cacao coffee is that the high acidity makes your body, if you don't balance it out with like 8 glasses of water, your body needs to balance it out. Your body will balance it out. Via how? Well, it'll start stripping your bloodstream, your bones, organs, wherever it can get it. Your body will start stripping itself of alkaline minerals to move it in to neutralize the acidic nature of the coffee running through you. So you're actually stripping your body of minerals like magnesium, which is in cacao, when you're taking normal coffee. So you're actually stripping yourself. And so the difference between cacao coffee and normal coffee that you all drink is coffee is a stripper and cacao is a builder. It's building up alkalinity, it's building mineralization, because remember, magnesium, iron and these alkaline minerals are minerals, and the acidic coffee is stripping those minerals. So cacao is building those minerals and it's not stripping any of them. Plus. Why plus? Well, because of that aforementioned, and as well, cacao is also massively ORP or ORAC value. Oxidative reduction antioxidant potential. Huge. Its ORAC value is like almost exactly equivalent to coffee or more. You have different estimates from different people, but basically they're the same ORAC value or close enough. Very much, it's not like they're way off in ORAC value like blueberries compared to coffee or blueberries compared to cacao. Both cacao and coffee are way up here. So I'm saying they're up the top, they're above, like, what else is there? There's other ORAC good foods. Blueberries is actually down the bottom here, golden berries, there's all this stuff. But they're up the top. Coffee and cacao in ORAC, or antioxidation, value. However, one is stripping and the other's building. Also, the caffeine thing I mentioned. With coffee you have this caffeine. Now, I tried coffee for 2 weeks to test this, because I don't just talk with horizontal information, I talk vertically, spiritually. That's what spiritual means. Experience reality through yourself. That's what the definition of spiritual means. Spiritual does not mean I'll have this much compassion and that much love and an ounce of discernment. It means all discernment. And, in light is embedded love. Me bothering to tell you this is love. Unfortunately for your view, if you disagree, that's true. Love is embedded in light. It said there's the white light and the golden central love. Anyway. So you have also that other factor that, they're the same, not only in antioxidation, and one is alkaline, and cacao is alkaline, and coffee is acidic, so you've got those 2 points. Also, the cacao caffeine thing. Cacao has way less caffeine, and after 2 weeks of drinking coffee, I noticed the caffeine thing, the addiction to it, and how hard coffee in general is to get off. It took me like 2 weeks to recover from those 2 weeks, which is longer than it took me to recover from smoking cannabis, besides the obviously gunk left in the lungs. I mean, psychosomatically and addictively, the contraction cycle speaking manner-wise. That's how I mean it. So in the same manner of addiction, like of being contracted in the cycle of the addiction, coffee was harder to quit for me than cannabis was. So fuck all you people who look down on cannabis smokers. I don't smoke it anymore, but I don't look down on them, because I know they're smarter than every coffee drinker I've ever met. Yeah, some people mix them and all that. I'm not going into all this. I'm just talking about the 2 separate grids, coffee and cannabis. Anyway, let's move past that. So the caffeine thing as the 3rd major factor as why to drink cacao, and that's your new coffee, and why not to drink coffee. The ORAC value and the acidity, alkalinity factor, those 2 aforementioned, and now this, the caffeine factor, number 3. Well, the caffeine, this whole jittery thing, the cingulate gyrus stuff that I talked about on one of the pages in consciousazine, it stops the integration of your higher star codes into your grey matter. So yeah, you may get the star downloads, but these people drinking tons of coffee, they don't end up putting it into their daily life, into their grey matter, and into the frontal cortex and everything. Because the cingulate gyrus, it sits in the middle, in between that septum pellucidum and pineal scintillations going onto the projector screen of the septum pellucidum. Then it gets, those cosmic frequencies have to get integrated into the outer grey brain matter via the cingulate gyrus and emotionality, putting the emotional content behind the star download that you just got to change your life. I've noticed the coffee drinkers don't do it. It's a cingulate gyrus problem. You'll hear that nowhere else in the world, because that came to me, Benjamin Kauenberg, as a forward sage who's a head of science. So you can take that or leave it. That's up to you. Okay? But so that's the last factor. The caffeine thing and the cingulate gyrus thing, we could say, is 3.5 factor or aspect. But those 3 major aspects, the alkalinity, the antioxidization, is there with the cacao, and it's less caffeine. And it's going to make you less jittery, less addicted, and, I need to reach for the coffee. So the low caffeine in cacao is just perfect for a little pep up, and the warm cacao drink is calming. The coffee, yeah, gives you that immediate little bit of calming, but you're straight up into the buzz of the caffeine after that. So, I mean, those 3 factors are really my big factors for why you should change from normal coffee to raw cacao, the base of all chocolate, before it's turned into cocoa coffee. Benjamin Cowenberg from www.consciousazine.com. And the best thing about this raw cacao coffee is it tastes like chocolate, because cacao is chocolate. Cacao is raw chocolate. What happens when the difference between raw cacao and your Mars bar, besides all the chemicals and additives, is first the cacao gets turned to cocoa by pasteurization and heating and homogenization, and then they add it to the Milky Way or the Mars bar or the Snickers or the this or the that. You know, any chocolate out there. So this is raw chocolate, coffee. Value out of coffee and cacao. ORAC stands for oxygen radical absorption or absorbance capacity. Now, value chart. Now, look, I just had a good look through all these charts on Google Images and stuff and through all the search results, and they're all different. So I don't know what is going on, if people in different laboratories or companies are trying to push different products, or if they've got different measurements or something somehow. I don't know what's going on, but they're different. For instance here, and look, they haven't even spelt cacao properly, they've put cocoa. So they don't even know the difference between raw cacao and cocoa, which is pasteurized and heated up and altered raw cacao. Cocoa is not cacao. And cacao's raw and has a better ORAC value even than cocoa. So anyway, and look, I can't even find coffee in the top 20 or the top 40. I don't think it's even in the top 60 here. I haven't even got coffee in here. And I know coffee's up there. I've seen other charts and I've heard it for years. Coffee's very high antioxidant value. And I haven't even got it in their charts here. Hey look, where's macquarie berry? Take note of the macquarie berry is 74 here. And that the cacao is 76 by the looks of it on these guys' chart. But now, if I go, for instance, just to Google Images, where was that chart I was looking at here? Macquarie berry is 90 here, not 70. So that's 20,000 difference. That's a bit. So I mean, I don't know, either someone doesn't know what they're doing or they're measuring it differently or something. As you can see, all the charts are different, measuring different things. It's a little confusing. So the point is, and how I look at it is, look, these guys have got just cocoa, natural. What's natural cocoa? Oh, fuck. Again, cacao is the natural or raw version of cocoa, what is the base of all the chocolate. So cacao, not cocoa, is raw chocolate. And they only got 8,000 here. We just saw the other one said like 80,000. This is what I mean. All these charts are different. But I'm telling you that the cacao is very high. And this is a better chart than that one we were just looking at just then. Was it this one? Yeah. This is not a good chart. So, I mean, you have a look through it all, but generally, I know, for instance, this is a Longevity Warehouse associated with David Wolf and the longevity conferences with all those medical doctors and stuff going up at the LA Hilton. So I know that this is pretty legitimate, this chart. By the way, their coffee's alkaline. So I don't know how... Pardon me. Cocoa stuck in my throat. I don't know how they made their coffee alkaline, but they did. And as we can see here, the ORAC value is 48,000. And look, this is generally right, and this chart, and what you look at is, you know, chart after chart, where does goji berries land? You know, you get some of those real bad charts like we just looked at, where they can't even realize what cocoa is, and they call it natural cocoa, and then put it at 8,000 ORAC. No wonder the ORAC's so low, because it's not raw or natural. cacao, so they don't know what they're doing. And so generally when you look at the good charts, say like this one and that first one up here, which is pretty good as well, generally you just look for the trend. You know, blueberries is always below coffee, it's always below gojis, it's always below the black raspberries, and so on. And elderberries is always above blueberries on all the good charts. So you just look for the general trend. Now, we're not going to look in every chart here, but you know, in the context of the video I'm shooting, coffee generally is around here, 50,000, and what was cacao? It should say cacao here, but again, I think they don't know the difference between. Whoops, not that one. Again, I don't think they know the difference between raw cacao and what cocoa is. Cocoa is after they've treated cacao. It's no longer the raw or the most ORAC value, the highest antioxidant form of it. So I think that's meant to say cacao. Either way, it's at 80,000. It was like 76, remember? Which is far above the coffee. Well, it's another 30,000 in ORAC value or antioxidation. So there you have it. That'll do me for the video. The point is, all the previous points I've mentioned on cacao, plus it even has a better ORAC score. You see the golden colour there from all the bee pollen and the cacao? That's a proper coffee. Cacao and bee pollen.
A golden one.
Beautiful. Cacao's in the bottom, but you know, we need to soak it to get unbind the phytate and the phytic acid because it's holding the minerals, because it's a nut. Everyone soaks their nuts, but not many people are soaking their cacao. Beautiful, look at the colour.